Welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings, with me, Gretta Chamberlain, Yvonne Kraeher, Leigh Stima, and the Realm of Beings. Shifting Impressions, which is one of the vehicles that supports the transmission of the Realm of Beings, is here to assist you in delving into your being by providing numerous topics and discussions for you to intake as you deepen your connection with your inner world. Shifting Impressions is here to assist you in strengthening yourself as you excavate to understand your true nature. Leigh, Yvonne, and myself, with the Realm of Beings, eagerly invite you to join us today and learn to shift your mindset, shift your thoughts, and shift your focus to recreate your life and produce a new you. Shifting Impressions starts now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. I'm Leigh, and I'm here with Yvonne and Gretta, and as always, the Realm of Beings, and we're very happy to be on Transformation Talk Radio every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you for joining us and being with us today. You might hear the term Realm of Beings and ask yourself who they are and how they show up in our lives. We have an in-depth conversation about that on our first podcast. So if you're new listeners to our podcast and have questions about who they are and who we are, I just refer you back to our introductory podcast where we go over all of that. You know, these conversations will help you to examine your life and your creation of reality. They will help you to shift your impressions and understand what you're creating in your life and how it shows up. This week, we will be discussing the quotation, "Show reverence to yourself. Show trust in yourself. Show unconditional love of self. Show patience with self. Be in joy." Ladies, there was a lot to that, as usual. Where exactly do we begin today?
That's great. When you read all that to me, the first thing I said was, "Wow, that's a long quote for today." It has a lot of stuff in it, but if you take all of that and you put it together, we're really talking about what we usually always talk about, which is unconditional love of self. So I think if we unpack it sentence by sentence, and that first sentence is show reverence to yourself. That is a lot, and quite a few people do that. Yvonne, you were talking about that you went to yoga this morning before the podcast.
Yeah.
So that's showing
it was a stretch for me.
Right.
Literally, figuratively and literally, because I had to get up here at 5 o'clock, and I am usually one of those creatures that likes to just sort of like linger and wait until I hear the birds in the morning and just wait for the sun to rise, and then I have my routine. But I'm kind of shifting my routine to Revere, to see myself in a different light. I've been struggling. I think I mentioned on the special podcast we did yesterday for the Dr. Pat show, just recognizing that I needed to accept the additional 20 to 30 pounds that I have accumulated, for not just, I don't want to just blame it on the pandemic, but that is what has happened.
That, Yvonne. You can't do that. You would like to. For sure.
I would love to. Yeah, but I've been processing things, for people who have been listening. I had a lot of loss last year in my personal life. My sister transitioned over a year now. It was in May of last year, and my mother in December. So those things kind of I had to sit with that and accept that and realize that I won't be able to pick up the phone and talk to them and like I normally do, but the relationship shifted. So, I feel like I've been able to deepen the relationship that I have with them on a different level now, as well as with myself. So with all that being said, like I just have shown greater reverence to my body, specifically in changing some habits that I had to better love of self habits, like recognizing on a conscious level, what am I putting into my body? What am I eating? What am I drinking? How am I moving? What am I doing on a regular basis that could serve, show reverence or serve me in a more habits that I now perceive as unloving towards myself. And I want to shift them into a place that of greater service and love to my body and all of my being. And in doing that, I recognize that I'll have more energy in the physical world. I'll be able to, be living in more joy because I'll be feeling better about myself. So, yep. Thanks for mentioning that, Greta. Only 2 days down, many to go. But yeah, I did make a commitment to go to start my or continue with my regular yoga practice. So,
but I think, Yvonne, too, based on what you've shared with us, is that you're also, it goes deeper than you going to yoga and helping your body to feel better about itself. It goes into the recognition of your trueness, which is your divinity within yourself. That's what we're recognizing. Many of us don't think that we are divine beings. So therefore, we negate ourselves, like the quote said, show trust in yourself, all of these things. Show unconditional love of self. Show patience with self. Be in joy. Each one of those things, when we do that, expresses our divinity toward ourselves. And there's nothing wrong with it, your belief in God or your belief not in God. It really doesn't matter where your belief system is. Some people believe in 3 gods, some people believe in 1 God, some people don't believe in God, and that's okay. It's okay. But the one thing that we want to, the one person that we want to believe in is ourselves. That's the one thing. When people say, well, why am I here? Well, you're here to learn to love yourself. You've created all of these illusions because this life that we are expressing ourselves in is a total illusion. So we create illusions, and you have choice of what illusions you want to create. Like this morning, I was talking to somebody, I told them, I said, even joy is an illusion, but it's a choice. Do you want angst or do you want joy? Do you want?
I want joy. Yeah, it feels much better to me, my body. Yeah.
And not only for the body, but for the spirit, for the mind, all of that. We're a total being, more total than what we think we are. So it's boils down to all the time recognition of your own divinity and what you want to accept. What illusion do you want to accept in your life? So you're playing around, you got a game of chess going. What chess piece am I going to move? Okay. Some of us, we move the chess piece and we go, oh crap, look what I did. I should have moved. Yeah, yeah. And to trust ourselves,
How do you do that, Greta? How do you trust yourself? What does that mean?
Well, that's a biggie.
Well, let's crack into it.
That's a biggie. I'm myself, even personally, I'm dealing with that because sometimes we get into relationships with others. It could be with our children. It could be with a mate. It could be with an animal. It can be with a boss. It can be, am I trusting myself? Am I really in the right place? Am I trusting myself to know that I'm in the right place for me at this time? See, there's never a time when you're not in the right place. Okay? It's never, that time of not being in the right place does not exist. We might say we're not in the right place, but we're in the right place. How we know we're in the right place? Because for God's sake, we put ourselves there. We put ourselves in that place. So therefore, it's a right place for us. Because what does that place do? What does that reality do? All realities are teaching realities. I don't care what they are. Even if you decide you're going to eat brown rice versus white rice, there's a lesson in that. Everything has a lesson. I don't care what it is.
I feel like
Yvonne,
tackled the right versus wrong issue in the past on different podcasts. So, okay.
Not really.
Oops.
So
Go ahead, Leigh.
I was just wondering if we could pick up just until the connection problem gets a little sorted for Yvonne. Being in the right place where you, because you created it, is actually kind of a hysterical concept, right? I mean, to think, usually, there's that age-old expression, the right place at the right time or whatever. But I mean, based on what you're saying, it's always the right place. And I think that alone is another one of those concepts that you really have to take a moment to digest, right? Because often, and I guess this kind of wraps into this trusting piece, that often we are dissatisfied with our place, perhaps. So, but we created it, and that's what we have to understand. So we have to create to make the change that will make it better. Yes?
Yes, and Yvonne made a statement, even though she can't speak to us. It says, what about right versus wrong? That judgment was something I was going to bring in. So she's bringing in judgment. I'm reading that. Notice I had to lower my glasses. Isn't that amazing? You buy glasses so you can see better, and you got to take them off so you can read. But anyway, look what I created with my eyes. All right, everybody. Okay, so what about right versus wrong? That judgment was something that Yvonne wanted to bring up. So you want to talk something about that, Leigh?
Well, I mean, this is something we also speak of most weeks on the podcast, and that's about we're constantly judging. And I think that's something that we have to, evolve some awareness to, right? And I mean, but at some point, it's an apparatus, right? I mean, it's a tool. It's how in this human existence, I mean, I guess we are put here in this duality, right? I mean, this 3D plane is about duality, is it not? So maybe we can overcome that, but this duality helps us make those choices, right? Whether the choice is something wanted or unwanted, or good or bad, or right or wrong. I mean, I think we have to make those for ourselves personally. And where we are, it's maybe trying to step out of judging the other, right? Because they're creating their thing, and that's for them to create without our interference or our judgment of what they're doing. Is that how I
Right.
can use it just towards this individual, not the other?
Judgment is really interesting. This whole life thing is extremely interesting because we think of people being right. We think of certain people being wrong. When in actuality, like you said, those are illusions, and the judgment assists us in securing that illusion, that this is right, that this is wrong, yin, yang, when none of that really exists at all. We think it exists. When we came into this living environment, you've always seen me put my hands up like that. We have on, what do you call those things?
Blinder.
Yeah, yes. We have on blinders so we don't see everything, so that we can experience the illusion to the fullest. So this quote today is really discussing illusions. Illusions. We just accept ourselves as we are. It's okay. See, everything is good if we want to judge it. Judge everything as being good. Judge everything as being beneficial because it teaches you a lesson. And that's why we're here. We're here to experience lessons.
Okay, and that's kind of, that's sort of how we transcend a little bit as best as we can, that dualistic nature of things, right? If we view, step one, view everything as being in our favor, right? So you kind of knock off that bad or unwanted part. And then you just can say, okay, this is for my understanding, for my learning. What can I benefit from this situation?
Mm-hmm. Because I think on the podcast, on the Dr. Pat show yesterday, we talked about two important words in any language. I don't care what language you're talking. It's how and why. How and why. How meaning, how am I going to learn my lesson that I have committed to learn? How am I going to learn that? And then when you create it, and you create the how you're going to learn it, and you go, oops, I think I should have done a different creation. So it's a oops. So the way to get out of the oops is to think of why you did it in the first place. So how is the creation of the reality? Why is the understanding of why you created that? You see, why do I create not to trust myself? Because trust is one of those things. Why do I create not to unconditionally love myself? I'm putting, some of us put conditions on ourselves as far as loving. Like, I'm not going to love myself unless I'm thin, unless I get down to 100 pounds, and I'm not going to think that I'm beautiful. If I'm 300 pounds, I'm not beautiful. But you created the 300 pounds. So you created the 300 pounds because you wanted to protect yourself. You see, because you're surrounding yourself with weight, and the weight is giving you protection from an event, an experience that you've had, a relationship you have with somebody. So I'm putting on weight because I got to protect myself from this situation, you know. So you created the how, but then you got the weight. So then you got to go into why. Why do I have this weight? Why am I protecting myself? Who am I protecting myself from? You know,
Feels like it's a memory of fear of something. Like we talked about loops all the time of like that weight is just another loop of, okay, so I'm protecting myself, and people do armor themselves, maybe not just with weight, but with other, other ways of, emotions or just anything you can think of to as a form of protection. Maybe it's the opposite. Instead of too much weight, maybe no weight at all, like they're just so thin that that's another way of, sort of stepping out of, whatever is, again, the illusion of the perfect world to live in, and kind of on the fringe. So yeah, I don't judge it, of course, but it's just, we have to look at everything,
Right.
Everything is part of that. So we have gotten the word from our producer that we're a little bit over our point for break. So ladies, shall we step out for just a minute of this illusion and this reality and take a quick commercial break and bring us back into segment 2. So yeah, you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio, and our podcast is called Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. We're here every Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, and I'm Yvonne. We're here with Leigh, Gretta, and the Realm of Beings. So stay tuned. We will be right back.
And welcome back to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. We're just going to jump right back in, pick up where we left off. We are talking about the quote, show reverence to yourself, show trust in yourself, show unconditional love of self, show patience with self, be in joy. And that was a little bit of a tongue twister for me just now. Apologies for that one. She sells seashells by the seashore. So we were talking about, when we left the break, about judgment and right and wrong, and stepping out of that duality a little bit. Where do we want to pick this up? Show patience with self, be in joy.
Don't beat up on yourself.
Don't beat up on yourself.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, I like that.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah, be gentle, be kind. The same way you would want other people to treat you. What's wrong with doing that for yourself?
Right.
The golden rule.
Yeah. There are no mistakes. There are no mistakes, because everything we create is for a reason that we've created it. I don't care what it is. So just relax and ride the wave of it, knowing that you have total control of the wave and the ride. That's it, to know you have total control. So if you created something that happened and you don't like it, just change it, change your thought. Shift the impression. Shift the impression. Change the thought. Change the thought. I had a lady that just texted me, and she said there was a job she was going for that she thought she was really going to get it. And she says, I didn't get it. She sent the text to me this morning. She said, that's a bummer. Don't even see it as a bummer. Just say, okay. So I'm just going to continue on. I'm keeping my energy high about it. That's where you got to be. If something doesn't work out for you, recreate something else. Recreate something else. And trust yourself in that creation. See, we don't trust ourselves in that creation. Because a lot of times why we don't trust ourselves in those creations is because we don't know why we created it. That's why that why is so important. You know, why did I create being married 5 times and divorced 4? You know, why did I do that? Why did I create that within myself? You know.
Well, does that have something to do with the loops? I mean, you know, we're kind of stuck in these loops, so we attract or we create these relationships based on this loop that most likely is not observed by us or we're not aware of. And it takes, you know, 1 time, 2 times, 4 times.
4 times, 5 times the charm. They always say 3, but it looks like.
I mean, that was, I think we were talking about this in the other podcast where, you know, we have to, when we're finding these similarities and we're trying to say it's somebody else, we really just have to see like, no, you're the staple in everything. You are the unchanged part in the diagram. So look within. But I guess those are all opportunities for our growth, right? I mean, you didn't learn it a couple of times in, and, you know, until we learn it, we keep creating it. Is that kind of the essence of that?
Yeah, that's about it.
That's super.
That's about it.
I tend to look at what energies, what's coming up, like in my particular relationships. I have a loop of intolerance, and like it's so easy to just blame other people, like, and be the victim of like, oh my God, you know, he or she did this to me and whatever. And so then, you know, as I've been growing and changing and being aware of a lot of things in my life, you know, like this intolerance seems to have, instead of like taking on a life of its own and like getting completely out of control and like just going out sideways, I've been like noticing it and sort of sitting with it and treating it like it's, you know, we talked about this in our podcast too. It's an entity, it's an energy, it's something there that needs attention. And it actually, in my perspective, I think it needs love. So I need to like take a step back and say, where am I expressing intolerance? Like why is it coming up at this time? And where did it come from? Has it always been with me? And like when I start examining and unearthing and like sort of pausing and being not harsh on myself, just being gentle and kind, and like those energies now really don't, like that intolerance seems to have like dissipated. It seems to, like the same way that I'm treating myself, that intolerance, even though it's still part of me, because I can step into it at any time, I can choose to, but the less I choose to give it emotions, give it gas, the less, you know, the more joyful and the less kind of out of balance my life is. So yeah, I don't know. Everybody has 1 or 2 or maybe more of those energies in them that kind of promotes sort of like a reaction, like you get stuck and you get in your fear, and then like you might get angry and blow up at another person or just like run off. You know, there's all kinds of ways we handle things, but just speaking from my own experience, of course, but I think it's potentially other people also experience it. But yeah, my little 2 cents here is just really take a moment and do a pause and a self, like sort of a self exploration, like talking about how and why, and like start really asking the energies and yourself inside, what is this, what's this lesson, what is for me, what's intolerance all about, and it definitely helps. So
Oh, yeah. I'm doing an examination of myself right here on this podcast.
Oh no! Oh my gosh,
Please.
Greta.
Because I
In
know
the
you
moment.
you didn't notice it. You didn't notice it because we were
Well,
all
you're talking about your glasses, but
yeah, talking about my glasses. But then I did this.
you're scratching your nose.
I'm scratching my nose.
Okay.
Now, if you know mental equivalencies, and this is the homework for the entire all the people that are on the with us this morning. Here's your homework. Why is Greta scratching her nose?
It's itchy.
Yes, but there's something to that. What does itching mean?
I don't know. Only Greta knows.
And then the fact that I was scratching. I didn't scratch my cheek. I didn't scratch my chin. I didn't scratch my head. I scratched my nose. Ha. That's homework. We'll come back.
Cliffhanger. Let us know. Let us
talk
know.
about my
I'm
nose
curious.
and my itching. I'll tell you about my teeth, though.
All right.
I went and I had my first tooth pulled out. Okay.
Oh.
I said, no, well, of course it's an interesting experience to have a tooth pulled out, especially when the man is getting right on top of you, pulling it out and all that thing, going, oh God, when is this going to be over? Okay, so I get home. I'm satisfied with that. My tooth is now gone. But then I put my finger in my mouth and I started rubbing my gums. I started rubbing my gums on one side. Then I wound up rubbing my gums on the other side. Then I wound up rubbing my gums all over my mouth. I was just rubbing. And then I said, oh, that's not enough. Let me go get my toothbrush. So then I took my toothbrush and I'm rubbing my gums. I said, Greta, if you continue rubbing your gums, you're not going to have any gums. And your gums are going to be bleeding up the yin yang. So I said, it's going to behoove me, because I've forgotten. It's going to behoove me to look at why there's that why. Why am I scratching my gums? Itching, scratching, it's just itching. So, of course, I went to the short version, Louise Hay. What did she say? She said, itching is a sign of loss.
And you just pulled that, which all of the teeth are connected to other parts of the body and other organs and other emotions. So
I was mourning my teeth, and he only pulled one.
So this just happened recently. Your tooth got pulled.
Oh no, this happened about.
Oh, but what about this? What about this? What's this all itchy about? What is
I don't know. I'm gonna have to look it up.
Oh, okay.
I have to look it up. What nose? I know itching means loss.
Loss.
But I've got to look at what nose. See, because in her book she's going to say nose. Do you have a stuffy nose? If you have a stuffy nose, that means something. If you have a running nose, that means something. See, everything that happens to our bodies means something. The body is a wonderful instrument to help us know where our unconscious is. So this is an unconscious thing I'm going about scratching my nose, on my face. So it's nose, and I can even look up face as well too, because my nose is attached to my face. So it's
the curious cat in me wants to know.
Next week.
Oh, stay tuned, listeners, because you have to come back so Greta can tell us. She can share with us why she created to scratch her nose on the podcast. Loss. Examine where loss is. What's coming up for you?
Yeah, it's gonna be real. Yeah, so you all hang in there with that now.
Yeah, I'm experiencing a lower back issue because of my newly reinstituted, because I actually taught yoga for a while. I'm just now getting back into practicing, getting back on the mat. and my lower back between yesterday and today was screaming at me. So I had to take it easy today and just, not push myself too much, because I don't want to like overdo it and then end up not being able to practice at all. So I just was, lower back, why are you screaming at me? Like, what's going on? So you can look up that for me too, Greta.
Lower back has to do with financial challenges or being worried about money.
Worried about money. Okay. All right. That's making sense in my life right now. Okay. Yeah.
Often show up that way. So these are the interesting things we do, right? Before we know about mental equivalencies, we just say, oh, that darn yoga. I was working myself so hard. Yeah. But then if you know about mental equivalence, and it makes sense, perhaps you are, maybe you haven't bent over into downward dog in 8 months. I don't know.
Yes, it's true.
So perhaps it's one facet, but when you take that moment, if you're aware of the mental equivalencies and you take a moment to look deeper, because I think that, when these things happen with the body, it is, if we know, right, we only know what we know. But when we know that there is perhaps some emotional tie to this physical pain, and if we can, it's like a little, it's our device, right? If we know the code, we can know a little something more about ourselves, right? So if we take this I've heard, sometimes we get sort of 2 signs, and then the third sign might be we create it physically if we're not listening to the other things that are coming to us. So once it hits your body, it's really the wake-up call for you to say, okay, deal with
loudspeaker. It's on the megaphone.
Right. In 3D, it's in your vessel of this plane, this illusion you're experiencing. Here I am, please attend to me. So, but it's wonderful. And if you view it like that, when you get sick or when you get aches or pains, it's oh, that's just like what Greta was saying. Oh, what is this trying to show me? What do I have to look deeper within, right? Because we're always talking about that. And we're going to our second break. And when we come back, we will be joined directly with the realm of beings, and they will weigh in on our conversation today and enlighten us with their information. Thank you for listening to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. I'm Leigh, I'm with Greta and Yvonne, and we'll be joined when we get back by the realm. Thank you. We'll be right back. Hello, and welcome back to Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings. Thank you for staying with us. We're to the point in the podcast where we have direct transmission through Greta as to what the realm has to say, the realm of beings have to say about our discussion today. So realm, are you here with us? I mean, you're always here, but.
Yeah, we're here.
Okay, that was.
We got you. We got you, girls. We got you.
Great.
Thank you. We know. So today, well, if I can say this without twisting my words, show reverence to yourself, show trust in yourself, show unconditional love of self, show patience with self, be in joy. What do you have to add to our conversation today?
You did a wonderful job, Leigh.
Oh, thanks.
I like that. I like how you said that. You did it well. Look what you created. You created to have a challenge at first. Now you've uncreated the challenge.
Yes.
So there is a witness right there to creation of reality. At first, we've had a lot of it going on today. We've been sitting back watching all of this, like Yvonne created not to be heard and all that kind of stuff. And then she decided, I want to be heard. So she fixed the whole doggone thing, and now we can hear her perfectly. How about that?
Yes.
That's great.
Well done.
Creation of reality was really going on here in this podcast this morning. And look at Greta scratching her nose. Oh, I've enjoyed this one. I've enjoyed this one. I'd like to have some more tongue twisters. That would be great. We'd have a podcast of tongue twisters showing how.
Them to Greta, and she'll write them down for us.
Oh my.
I'll have her do that for you. She knows quite a few of them if she remembers them. But anyway, love of self, love of self, love of self. That's all we can say. You want to ask us about us today, what we have to say? Love of self, love of self, love of self. Sometimes people hate themselves. I hate myself today. I don't look good. I don't feel good. Oh, I got a headache. Oh, my eyes hurt. Oh, this, oh, that. I don't love myself. You forget who you are. You forget that you are divine. I'm going to use two words with it: divine divinity. Divine divinity. When you step out of it, then you're lacking trust in self, or maybe lacking that feeling loving to yourself. What was the other one, Leigh?
Trust yourself, unconditional love, revere yourself.
Yeah, that's it. Revere yourself. You don't love yourself. You don't trust yourself. See, that revere, we put that revere first. That's the reason why we did that. Let me explain it to you. We put that revere first. Revere yourselves, because when you revere yourselves, everything else that we put after that is a given. The trust, the unconditional love. And what was the last one we had? I think there were 4 things.
Patience and joy. Be in joy.
Patience. All of those things. Joy. All of those things. But let me say this to you. All is an illusion. But as you ladies were talking about today, loving yourself is an illusion as well. Because if we go deeper, 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 deeper inside self, you recognize who you are. Therefore, there's no need for any of that. Ponder that a little while.
I always think about that quote that's on building in Greece: know thyself, right? See, to revere means to see yourself and know yourself. And the only way to do that is to really go deep and recognize the divinity.
Note that know thyself is in many places.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's on the pyramids themselves that actualize themselves before the Greek situation. Know thyself. But once you recognize that you are a divine being, everything falls in tow. But you can recognize that you are a divine being, but yet create something that you go, oh, wow, look what I created. I wish I didn't have that in my experience. And that's okay too. But still revere yourself. Revere, revere, revere. The more you revere, the more you appreciate yourself. How can you do that? Yvonne went to yoga. Some of you might go to the, is it a hot tub? Yeah. Or you can go to a movie. Go take yourself out to lunch. Go for a walk along the beach. Do something for yourself that expresses how you revere the essence of your being, which is divinity. Do something that you appreciate to do. Do something for yourself. Be it there. Let me say this. I was getting ready to say, be it small enough, but there's no small. Anything you do for yourself is great. Do something for yourself. If it's to lay in your tub with some warm water and just feel the water there supporting you with its love. You see, there's love all around you. Embrace it. Joy is unconditional love of self. Trust is unconditional love of self. Seeing the beauty in yourself is unconditional love of self. And unconditional love of self is connected to you revering yourself, seeing who you truly are, beyond what you have created. I'll say that again. You are beyond what you created. What you think, I've created a horrible life. We've heard people say that. I've created a horrible life. No, you haven't. You just created a life where you put in there a lot of lessons for you to learn. That's all you did. Didn't do anything else but that. Some of us choose the easy route. Some of us choose routes that we say, when we get through with them, we go, phew, I made it. That's because you created that. You were testing yourself. This is just you're testing yourself. You're testing a quote unquote strong, which is an illusion unto itself again, but you want to test it. Am I a strong person? Can I get through this? Oh, I made it through my cancer experience. I know I've made it through my heart experience. I'm testing myself. And guess what? Your heart gave you support in the test. Your body gave you support in the test. I want to fall down. I want to experience what is it like to fall down? Then some of you say, oh, well, I've had the experience now. I don't think I want. Unconscious, I'm not falling anymore. Don't give it to me. I don't want to be bothered. Yeah, tell it whatever you don't want to be bothered with. Trusting yourself, trust to know that you are teaching yourself. You think you have external teachers. Sure, you can create those external people. You can consider us to be teachers for you. But you know what? The teacher for you is yourself. Nobody else. You can go to church and the minister will be up there just pontificating. But the bottom line, when you go home, you don't have that minister with you. So the bottom line is you're teaching yourself. That's what you're doing. You're the teacher, not somebody else. We're not your teacher. We're just assisting you in reactivating that which you already know. Everything that we talk about on this podcast, you already are aware of. You already know. It's just deep inside of you. And now this podcast is giving you the opportunity to bring it up, to activate it, to use what you know. So part of that using is to know you love self. Now show yourself that. You already know you trust yourself. How can you trust yourself? You're divine. Of course you trust yourself. You've just decided to forget that. That's all. It's a forgetting. And you purposefully came into this space to forget those things. And now you've decided, okay, reactivate. I want to reactivate. I want to remember who I really, truly am. I want to remember that I know to trust myself. I know to unconditionally love myself. I know to be in joy. I know to revere myself. You already know those things, but you've come to this podcast to reactivate it.
And those are wonderful words to pause by. Remember your divinity, listeners. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, Greta. Thank you, Realm. Thank you, Jessica. And thank you, everyone, for listening to our podcast today. Until we create each other again. So long.
Once again, thanks for joining us at Shifting Impressions, Conversations with the Realm of Beings on TransformationTalkRadio.com. As you have explored today's creation of reality experience with Leigh, Yvonne, the Realm, and me, Greta, each of you is being supported by us in further developing the understanding that you are not just an individual existing in linear time and space, but a multi-dimensional force of infinite possibilities who is connected to all. So begin to create the realities you want. Join us every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Time and 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Shifting Impressions at TransformationTalkRadio.com. So long until we create each other again next Friday.